Hi everybody and welcome to the latest edition of the chat. I'm Kerri Burk and you haven't seen me for a while because I've just had a very traumatic experience in my personal life and I want to warn you about it. But we are going to have a show today on hypnotism and I'm here today with Tom Beardshall and he is the owner of the Holistic Wellness Center. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Now, if you just indulge me for a minute, I want to warn everybody, because I always like to warn everybody when anything medically happens to me. But my son went off as a freshman to school in September. 3 weeks later, he called me. He said he had a very bad sore throat, very sick, very fatigued. This is my child who's not sick very much. Anyways, he went into the nurse practitioner at the school who told him to gargle with salt water and take 4 ibuprofen every 6 hours, which he did. Okay, day 2, he's not any better. They're giving him a blood test to see and strep test to see if anything comes up. Everything's coming up negative. So, you know, keep doing the same thing. Maybe take an extra ibuprofen with the other ones. Okay, so he's almost at a maximum dose, which is 2,400 milligrams a day of ibuprofen that the human body can process. Next day he comes back, his throat is swollen shut, he's drooling, and he's got a high fever, and they tell him it's a virus, and they give him a Medrol dose of steroids, and he starts on the steroids. The next day he's incredibly better, he thinks he's all healed. All of his tests come back negative, even for mono. And then the next day, or maybe no, it's that night, he's walking across campus and he feels something hurt in his thigh, like up in his groin, and he can barely walk to get back to his room. By the time he gets back to his room, he's having uncontrollable chills. He gets in the shower, gets all warmed up, goes to bed, and then starts completely overheating. What was happening to him is that he had a bacteria that got somehow into his system and into his bloodstream. And because of the heavy ibuprofen and steroid use, that masks a bacterial infection so that a doctor can't even get it from your blood test. Cameron grew a baseball-size abscess in between his abductor and adductor muscles that he had to go into emergency surgery to have this thing removed. I just this weekend got back from the lab what this bacteria was, and it comes from dog feces, and there's only about 3 known cases of it. You always get an abscess, though, that has to be surgically removed. So, warning you now, all these football people and sports people who you get hurt, they say take a bunch of ibuprofen or you get a sore throat, be careful. You're only taking away the symptoms and the inflammation. You're not getting rid of what is maybe eating at you inside, and it might go deeper and deeper into you. So just a little heads up, it's a really traumatic event, and I'd love to have a microbiologist come on and talk to me about Eubacterium tinea, which is what infected him. Okay, now on to hypnotism. I've always been interested in this. I've always, being from California, of course, I actually looked at one of the schools, Tom. I worked like right next door to the one on South Central Avenue in Glendale, California, which is one of the big places where they
teach hypnosis.
Teach it, right. So I've always been interested in it because I've known a few friends who, or maybe they were my mom's friends, who did it and got rid of their fear of flying or speaking in public, weight control, smoking, depression, all those. I've known a few through my life, but I've never been interested enough to do it. But anyways, Cable called me and said, you know, we'd like you to do some more shows. Are you available? Okay, yeah. So this is what came up. I contacted you. Couldn't believe you were right here in the neighborhood, right there at what are you on? It's 19 you're on, is your address.
We're at 19, close to Donaldson's Crossroads.
And they'll put it, they'll put it on the screen. But anyway, so I went in and I said, you know, I'd really like to do something about my stress eating because, you know, a bag of M&Ms is like my stress tabs, and I've been through a lot of stress lately, and they're always a good friend to me. So I asked him what that would entail, and we got into it, and I said, okay, this is good, let's do a show on this. So, Tom, you are a member of All the Good Places about hypnotizing. How long have you been doing this?
But, well, this is the 1994 was when I opened up my office here in McMurray.
Really?
So I was interested in it before that, but it's been about 14 years now.
I can't tell you how shocked I was that there was somebody this close and I'd never even known about it, because it's really right when I moved here, actually, 1994. So, okay, you know, I've had a lot of misconceptions about it just from talking to people and never knowing enough about something. And, you know, some people would say, oh, no, you can't do that because it opens up your soul to the devil. Or, you know, you do it once and it works, but then it goes away. And, you know, you can get programmed like the Bourne Identity, you know, to brainwash you to become a killer, or mind control me to, you know, all that stuff, which are all absolutely untrue.
Right.
Right. Okay. So why do you think so many people have all these weird misconceptions about it?
Well, TV and movies have worked hard at creating these misconceptions because they can build great plot lines around them. You know, the Manchurian Candidate and stuff like that, where they hypnotize somebody and say, when you hear a certain signal, you're going to pull out a gun and shoot somebody or something. And in actuality, that's impossible. I mean, unless you already wanted to pull out a gun and shoot somebody, hypnosis isn't going to get you to do it at a certain signal. Hypnosis can't get you to do anything that you don't want to do. It's okay to be in conflict. Probably 99% of the people who come to see me are in conflict. You know, part of them wants to quit smoking or stop overeating, and part of them wants to keep on doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be doing it.
Right. It is an internal problem.
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing, because I was shocked at the statistic that you can be hypnotized once and 90% of the people will stop smoking. That is a fabulous statistic. Get in there, get hypnotized, and quit puffing. You're like lepers anymore, you know? I mean, really, that's like amazing to me, early.
Yeah, the thing that hypnotists do the most, probably any hypnotist anywhere in the country, if you ask them, the two things they do the most are stop smoking and weight loss, because those are the two things that people naturally think of hypnosis for. Hypnosis is a very natural state of relaxation in which you get access to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is kind of like the hard drive on your computer. Your conscious mind is kind of like the peripheral stuff that you keep on top of the desk, you know, your screen and your keyboard and the mouse. The subconscious mind is like your hard drive. And unfortunately, most people's hard drives, most people's subconscious mind is full of accidental programming that's full of self-sabotage and negative messages and so on. And hypnosis is just a very natural way to get access to the subconscious, do some reprogramming, erase some old negative messages and put some positive messages in. But whatever is being put in there has to be compatible with your values and your goals.
And you have to consciously want it too. Like, I want to consciously stop smoking, or I want to get better at schoolwork, or I want to be able to study better. Because I hear a lot of people this really helps them with studying for tests and just taking in memory. Memory, it helps, right? Right.
You can do memory enhancement. You can overcome fear of test taking, fear of public speaking, stuff like that.
And sleeping. You said sleeping's a big one.
Yeah.
In your business.
Oh, yes. People are having a hard time sleeping. Instead of taking all those pills and things like that, you reprogram your subconscious mind to just let you flow into a nice state of sleep. And I give them everything I do, I make a recording of. So you take a recording home that you can reinforce with. With the insomnia clients, they take the recording home and they use the recording to fall asleep to. And it just
okay, so I did this one for, we talked about it, and I said, my overweight problem isn't really about hunger. It's more about stress and eating too much of something because I'm stressed or bored or, want something else to do. So I did the one, the first session, and I just want to share with you how I thought and everything. So I'm sitting in there, and he puts these glasses on you and these headphones on, and you lay back in like a little lazy boy chair, and he starts telling me how to breathe and think about breathing in ways I'd never really thought about. And I started getting really relaxed, and I remember him counting backwards, okay, we're going to count backwards, and all I remember is 6. And then I don't remember anything that happened after that, truly. I don't remember it. Okay, so then I remember, and 3, we're starting to move our fingers and hands again, and we're coming back, and all of a sudden, and I look at the clock, and like an hour has gone by. And I'm like, wow. I wonder what I did in that hour, because I had no known thing. So I get home, and my husband's like, where have you been? What were you doing? And he goes, give me that tape. So we both, it's like an afternoon, and we go in to take a nap, and he wants to hear it. And so I put in the tape, and so he listened a little bit longer. I think he got to like 3 or something on the count down to going to sleep. And then the same thing happened to him. He fell asleep too. I felt so relaxed. And so now what I've done is I've been going to sleep with it every night. I just put it on right as I go to sleep. I still don't know what's on in the middle of the tape. And I told Tom that the other day, and he said, now listen, you got to listen to the tape during being conscious while you're cooking dinner or something, not driving, not anything where if you relaxed you might, you know,
Hurt yourself,
fall asleep or whatever. So I still haven't done that yet. But the importance, give me the importance of that again, of why we need to make the connection, because the subconscious learns quicker? Or?
Well, the subconscious mind has all the power. You know, we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. The conscious mind is where we live during the day, but the subconscious mind is the one that has all the power. And the subconscious mind is the one that needs to be reprogrammed. If the conscious mind wants to do something like losing weight or quitting smoking, but the subconscious isn't ready, it isn't going to happen. So the important thing that we need to do is reprogram the subconscious mind. Once you've listened to the recording half a dozen times, the subconscious mind is reprogrammed to make changes. But if the conscious mind doesn't know what to do, then you don't have both of them on the same page. So after you've done enough listening that the subconscious mind is reprogrammed, I tell people, allow yourself one conscious listening. If you're somebody who always falls asleep listening to the recording, allow yourself one listening where you listen while you're sitting up with your eyes open and you don't let yourself get deeply relaxed. Mm-hmm. So that now the conscious mind knows what's on the recording also. But the important thing is to first get the subconscious mind to know what's on the recording and be reprogrammed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, so I've done it twice now. I've been, my type of problem, which I have many, but he told me you can only deal with one at a time. So, because I'd like one to help me exercise and stay on target and not procrastinate. And, you know, I had a long list, and he goes, we can't do all those at one time. It's just, we'll overload the system, right?
The subconscious mind kind of blows a fuse if you try to do too many things at once. And so,
where does it blow the fuse at?
Well, I say the subconscious mind kind of blows a fuse.
But you told me it's at like a certain number, like 2 or 3 changes, it can't take it anymore. You can only do 2 or 3 changes at a time.
Yeah, you can only do you have to stay below a certain threshold in terms of how much you try to do in one session. Otherwise, it just goes on overload and kind of loses what you were trying to accomplish.
Okay. All right, so here's what I have felt about, because I am normally I have a satiation thing. Like I can eat a dozen donuts, no problem. If it tastes good, I'm not one of those people who can just eat one and go, oh yeah, that was great. No, I need like 10 or 12 of them. I can eat a whole row of Oreo cookies, not just a couple. That just won't do it for me. I'll feel deprived. So what I have noticed is, and it's the holidays, I've been to so many holiday things, is that, and I don't know if this is just, I mean, it's wild, but this is my experience, is that like I go to eat something, and if it doesn't taste very good, then I don't even bother with it at all. Like if it's some kind of Chex Mix or some kind of chocolate, if it's not very good at all, it's like I'm almost, I don't even like it. And then if it's really, really good, I'll take a bite of it and I'll be like, wow, and I seem to enjoy it more and I seem to be satiated. I haven't needed like the handfuls and handfuls of stuff. That's what I've really noticed at the latest holiday parties for me, and I've been hypnotized twice. So I think that's pretty fascinating. I really do. Now, the more I study up on it, though, it's just like anything. It says, now, you can't just go and get this done and then say, I'm fixed. You have to keep going with the tapes. You need like a booster class every once in a while, because if you do, you'll just revert back to your old.
Well, if you follow the program the way I outline it, I give people recordings of all my sessions. I have a certain period of time I want them to listen to them. But once they've done that, they should be pretty much permanently reprogrammed so that they can...
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't need to keep doing it. It's kind of like when you load software into your hard drive of your computer. If you successfully get it in there and it's working, you know, unless your computer crashes, it should stay there.
You get a virus? That's what I'd get. I'd get some kind of M&M virus or something. Well, that's really great. I see, because I was looking up that and I thought, oh, you know... yeah, I really like that. And now that I've had it done, I almost feel like at some points in the day, almost everyone kind of goes through the day kind of hypnotized, where you kind of zone out and get into a relaxing state, and you kind of think about, go a little inward and stuff. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, the stage hypnosis in these movies and TV shows that build these crazy plots around hypnosis, they kind of create the idea that hypnosis is some kind of really bizarre kind of trance. But really, even if you've never been hypnotized, the brainwave state that we call hypnosis is one that everybody that hears this show has been in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, because it's a very natural state of relaxation. We all go in and out of it on a regular basis. If you've ever been reading a really good book or watching a really good TV show and somebody comes in the room and says something, and about 5 seconds later it kind of dawns on you that somebody came in the room and said something, you have no idea what they said, you were in hypnosis. It's just, you didn't call it hypnosis. But,
right.
But that's,
you were just focused.
That's the mental state. Or if you're working on a hobby and suddenly realize that you've gone all the way through dinner time and you didn't even think about food, you were in a state that's pretty close to a hypnotic state, because you were doing your flower arranging or your stained glass or your wood carving.
Right, you're just so into it, and I can see that now. Now that so it's not anything scary at all.
Yeah, it's the most natural state of relaxation that there is, and you pass through it every night on your way to sleep. It's so it's just an in-between kind of a state that's kind of a halfway state between being awake and being asleep, and we all go in and out of it all the time.
Mm-hmm. So in that hour, through that hour that I still haven't heard yet, what were you saying to me? What are just some? Don't tell any of the really good ones, but just some of them. Some of them that you were saying.
For one thing, we were talking about how when you taste one of your favorite foods, you're going to be able to richly appreciate the taste of it, and then be totally in control and be able to stop with 1 or 2 bites.
Oh, you're kidding me! Really? Do you really say that?
Listen, get your husband to listen to the recording. He'll tell you. So that's one of the things that we program for.
Isn't that funny? And that's exactly what I have felt like at a Christmas party with good cookies and good cakes and good stuff. I mean, what else do you say?
A lot of stress relief stuff. I mean, most bad habits are how we nurture ourselves through life's ups and downs. We all have stresses in our lives. I don't care how old you are or what your experience is. We all have stresses in our lives, and because we have those stresses, we get into bad habits, whether it's poor study focus, or it's overeating, or smoking, or
drinking.
Drinking too many
drugs.
chocolate, too many chocolate chips, stuff like that. That becomes part of how we nurture ourselves through those ups and downs of life. So everything that I do, when I say I can do a couple things in hypnosis, everything I do involves, first of all, retraining people to de-stress. We try to train the subconscious mind to do a kind of an automatic pilot de-stress kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So you're more relaxed. You don't need to use the M&Ms or whatever to de-stress yourself.
And then, so could you hypnotize me next to to when I get stressed, to handle it better, and instead of sabotaging myself, actually eat healthier and do things better for myself while I'm going through the stress?
That's already part of the 2 sessions you've been through.
Oh, okay.
It's in there.
I have to say I do feel better. I have to say I really, it is kind of interesting that I haven't been as stressed, and with all that I've been through, it's kind of, I truly find this very fascinating. I really do. So, all right. So on the third one then, is that when you teach me how to do it for my other things? Like when you said you'll teach myself how to...
Usually when I'm doing 2 or 3 sessions with somebody, somewhere in there, I'll actually put in an instruction program so that you can do self-hypnosis. So that later on in life, if you have some goal that you want to reach or something you want to condition yourself for, you've got a simple technique. And the best way to learn how to hypnotize yourself is while you're in hypnosis, because then we can just implant a couple of things. You say, if you do these 2 things, you'll automatically flow right back into the mental state that you're in right now. So that's the best place to teach self-hypnosis, is while somebody's in hypnosis. And, so that becomes part of the process. Anytime somebody comes to me for 2 or 3 sessions, I usually try to include some instruction on self-hypnosis so that they can sit down and really in just a few minutes you can hypnotize yourself and give yourself some positive thinking kind of affirmations, and with some repetition, that kind of thing can reprogram you.
Okay, so of all your clients that you have, what is the number one thing they come to you for?
Well, about 80% of my work is some variation of either stop smoking or weight loss. And usually they're about equal. I mean, usually about 40% of my work will be stop smoking, about 40% will be weight loss. And I don't know what makes it go up and down. Sometimes I'll go through cycles where 55% is weight loss and only 35% is, or 25% is stop smoking. And I'll go through cycles where 55% is stop smoking and only 25% is weight loss for a couple of months. But when I look back at the course of a year, usually it's about 40 and 40, about 40% stop smoking, about 40% weight loss. And then the other 20% is helping people with sleep problems and insomnia and overcoming fear of flying, fear of public speaking, things like that.
Oh, all right. Okay, now how well does hypnosis work for people who are like an alcoholic? Does it work, or is it not so easy?
It works. I don't have as many of those kind of clients as I do with the stop smoking, so it's harder to come up with exact numbers. But if somebody, stopping alcohol is a 3-session program. It's pretty successful if they'll come to all 3 sessions. Some people are not motivated and decide that I'm actually getting them to quit drinking and decide that they don't want to and don't show up for the 3rd session. And
the conscious mind will override the subconscious then?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, the conscious mind. I mean, your own mind is always taking care of you. Your goal has to be to
want to stop.
To want to stop. And if the scale tips the other way, you may think that the scale is on the side of you wanting to stop. But in the process of actually doing it, if you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to stop and I don't want to, and then you wind up canceling the appointments. And so. And
what if somebody comes into you that's like that? Can you work them through that to get them consciously to want to stop for health reasons?
I mean, if somebody comes into me and they're in conflict, part of them wants to quit and part of them doesn't. That's one of the things that hypnosis is usually good at. It can help them tip over onto the side of really wanting to quit. But with some addictions, addiction can be a powerful process. So there are some addictions where, while the person's in the process of going through the hypnosis, they suddenly realize that they're about to make this dramatic change in their lives, and they suddenly decide that they're in such conflict that they can't handle it.
Okay, well, there is legitimate medical and psychological, they really do say that in medicine and in psychology, that this is a legitimate practice that has a ton of uses and benefits for people, right? I mean, it really is. I mean, I don't know if it's the American Medical Association or I think it is, the American Medical Association and the British Medical Association both accept it as a useful therapeutic tool in a lot of things.
The range of things you can do with it is amazing. Athletes use hypnosis. I mean, some of the Olympic teams from places like Russia and China and so on, they actually have team hypnotists who hypnotize them so that they can get into that state that athletes call being in the flow, being in their state of peak performance, being in the zone, or
right.
And that kind of mental state where you just feel like everything's going well and it's all going to come out right and all that kind of thing. Athletes need to be in that kind of state, and there's been a lot of incidents where that kind of stuff goes on. The first time I ever heard about it was when I was fairly new in hypnosis, and one of the longtime hypnotists around Pittsburgh, who's now retired, was talking about Willie Stargell. And when Willie Stargell went into a batting slump, he would come to this fellow and get hypnotized to get that confidence back again. And I've had a fair number of athletes come to me too. Nobody famous. Usually it's college athletes or high school athletes who when they're practicing their swimming or their gymnastics or their running or whatever it is, they can beat everybody else. And then, when they're actually at a meet, they kind of get a mental block and they jam up and they come in 4th or something.
Just like taking a test.
Yeah, same way with test taking. Yeah, people know the stuff cold when they're sitting in class or reading their homework the night before, and then when they go in to take the test, they lose half of the information. And that kind of stuff can really be overcome well with hypnosis. Those kind of mental blocks that cause you to freeze up and lose some of what you know.
I think I have that in just daily conversation too. Like, I would know your name to say, oh, who are you doing the show on? Or, oh, it's Tom Beardshall, and then if somebody would happen to say, oh, what's his name? Or where did, all of a sudden it's like, just because I've been put on the spot, I go completely blank, and then I think I get nervous, and then I'm trying to search for it because I know it, so why can't I get it? And then it takes me a minute to get off on something else before it'll come back to me.
It's the relaxation. Once you get relaxed, then your normal mental functioning pops back into place, and all of a sudden it pops back into mind, and you turn to somebody and said, oh, by the way, that person whose name I couldn't remember is...
Right.
Even though
and do people come to you like for, you know, if they've lost their wedding ring, or if they've lost, you know, or maybe the police chief, you know, somebody has a witness that he needs you to get him to...
I've never worked with the police. I've had a number of people who've come to me because maybe they had a contractor coming in their house to remodel their kitchen, and they decided that those valuable stamps or their grandma's jewelry or something that they have sitting around in a box on their bedroom dresser or something, that they should hide it somewhere. And so they take grandma's jewelry and they hide it somewhere. And then after the contractor is done remodeling the kitchen, they suddenly realize that they can't remember where they put it. And they go around ransacking their house and trying to figure out
Which makes it worse. Then you just start searching. And have they found it?
Usually. It doesn't work 100% of the time. But
most of the time.
Most of the time.
They'll come up and find it.
Sometimes they remember while they're in my office. Sometimes they take the recording I give them home and listen to that while they're falling asleep the next few nights, and then all of a sudden they'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, I know where it is now.
Oh, that must feel good to know that they like got it. I mean, I think I would really, I don't know, I think I would really like that. That would make me feel good as a hypnotist, you know? What happened to 5? Did I miss it? There's only 2 minutes left. All right, did I miss anything? Now, you've written a book, too. I was going to mention that, too. You wrote a book. Now, I haven't got a chance to look at it, but you have Steering Your Way Through Life, a guide to being happy, purposeful, and fulfilled. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yeah,
this is a basic self-help book, how to maintain a positive attitude and keep yourself together and feeling happy and positive through life's ups and downs. And we're all going to have ups and downs. But this kind of pulls together a whole bunch of things about philosophy and spiritual metaphysics and so on to give you a framework to put life's ups and downs into, so that you feel that you understand why it's happening and how to stay in control.
How about pain? Can you do pain?
Pain can be responsive to hypnosis depending on what the source of the pain is. I won't work with somebody with pain unless they've been to a doctor and we understand what the cause is, because I don't want to mask pain that you should.
Do you remember, like a while ago, like in maybe the 50s, I think I saw a show on that where they said they did like open surgery, like.
Oh yeah, dental surgery.
Was it, or was it in, I think it might have been in Russia, and they were doing some, and they hypnotized somebody, and they were like, you know, like taking out a kidney or something. I mean, it was something really unbelievable, and this person didn't have any anesthetic. Do you believe that?
I believe it can be done. Personally, I'm scared enough when I have to go under the knife that I'll take the anesthesia.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I wouldn't. I think I couldn't handle that. Well, yeah. Okay, so anyways, I think it's something to try, if it's something you're interested in. We've got Tom's number on the screen. I think it'd be something, you know, I'm a skeptic. I tried not to go to sleep that first time. I tried to just keep listening, and it didn't work. I went to sleep, or I went somewhere. I went into my subconscious. So you might want to try it out. Might be something good for you. And how about them Steelers? Oh, I tell you, that was a good game.
Cliffhanger.
It was. So, and watch out with the ibuprofen and the steroid use, too, when you get sick. Be careful. And if you are a microbiologist or a doctor and you're good at infectious disease and you'd like to come on and talk to me about this, I invite you to fax or call the station and come on in. Otherwise, everybody have wonderful holidays, and I'll see you next year.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Tom. It was great.